How does a game remember your score? Programs run step by step, so how do they remember something from earlier? Let's learn about that. This concept is commonly referred to as state. Again, to give a definition, the information that a computer stores or remembers is called state. It's just things that a computer keeps track of while a program runs. Here's a simple way to think about it. When you meet someone, you usually try to remember their name. That way you can refer to them later or get their attention. In a similar way, programs remember pieces of information so that they can use them later. That information could be things like a player's score in a game, the number of items in a shopping cart, or even whether a user is logged into a website. All of these are examples of state. But we have to answer an important question here. How does a program actually store that information? Now for this, programs use something called a variable. A variable is like a labeled container that holds a piece of information, and that label allows the program to find the information later. For example, a game might have a variable called score, and at the start of the game, the score may contain or be set to the number 0. And when a player earns points, the program will update that value to be the new score. So if the player earns 10 points, the program might take the current score, add 10, and store the updated number back in the variable. The important idea here is that the variable name stays the same, but whatever is inside of it can change. And that's where the word variable comes from. The value can vary. So let's take a look at an example. Imagine a game where the player starts with a score of 0. When they defeat an enemy, they gain 10 points. The program may do something like this. Look at the current score, which in this case is 0, and then it will add 10 points to that number. Now that it has the new value of the player's score, which is 10, it will store the new score in that same variable. So now the next time the program checks the score, it will see the updated value. So if the player earns another 10 points, it'll check the score, which is 10, add 10 to that number, so now it's 20, and then store the new number, 20, back into score. And this variable, called score, is a part of the program's state because it's information the program is keeping track of over time. Now, just like everything else in this series, variables do not break the basic rules of how programs run. They still run one step at a time in order. But now those steps can read and change stored information. Decisions might check a variable to see if something is true. Loops might repeat until a variable reaches a certain value. Functions might use variables to perform calculations or track progress. So variables give programs a way to remember information as they run. So why does it matter? Well, without variables, programs wouldn't be able to keep track of anything. We already talked about this, but a game couldn't keep track of your score or your health. A shopping cart couldn't remember what items you added. A timer wouldn't count down. Every single step would have to start from scratch. And that makes it impossible to build a program. Variables are what allow programs to build on the past and respond to what has happened. So now we've added another important piece to our understanding of how programs work. Programs run instructions one step at a time. They can make decisions, they can repeat work, they can organize logic with functions, and now they can remember information using variables. And these ideas form the basic building blocks of almost every program. So there you have it. Hope you learned something interesting or useful from this video. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.